Independent, fair, above politics. Those are words you would hope people use to describe the state's highest court. But in Wisconsin, we often hear words like divided and dysfunctional. That's what happens when an argument breaks out and one justice is accused of putting his hands on another justice's neck. Tonight, Fox 11 is on special assignment. Robert Hornacek finds out what the candidates in next week's Supreme Court election have to say about the incident and the future of the court.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has a rich and storied history dating all the way back to 1847. But in the last few years, the court has become a place of tension and division. It culminated in June of 2011 when Justice David Prosser allegedly placed his hands around the neck of fellow Justice Ann Walsh Bradley during an argument. Prosser has claimed it was in self-defense. Justice Pat Roggensack, who's up for re-election next week, witnessed the incident.
What do you remember about it?
It was very upsetting to me because I first personally put my body between two of my colleagues to stop a bad situation from getting worse, and then I held on to Justice Bradley until she calmed down. I think the last time I broke up a fight was when my son Matthew was about 6 years old, and he and his buddies were wrestling around on the floor, and I chased them all outside. You know, I found it a very upsetting thing.
Did you actually see him put his hands on her neck?
Yes, unfortunately I did, and yes, unfortunately it did happen. I mean it when I say I physically separated him. I put myself between the two of them, and that's what stopped what was going on at that particular moment.
That incident has become an issue in the campaign for Roggensack's opponent, Marquette University law professor Ed Falone.
The personal animosity between the justices has affected their work.
Falone says the incident and subsequent investigation shows the high court is dysfunctional.
I think what we see is a sense that the court has been trapped in these cycles of hostility, ill will, recrimination, tit-for-tat grudges, and they can't seem to break out of it. And that's why I believe it's time for change in personnel and a new direction.
The state's Judicial Commission accused Prosser of ethical violations, but 4 justices, including Roggensack, recused themselves from the case because they were witnesses. That effectively prevented the case from moving forward.
It's dead. It's not going to go anywhere.
Former Justice Janine Geske says the court needs to rebuild its reputation.
They clearly have a problem. They are in conflict, and I think it has affected people's confidence in the court.
While Geske works at Marquette University Law School with Falone, she says she's not endorsing anyone in the race. Geske says Roggensack is among the court's conservative majority. If Falone is elected, Geske says no one really knows how the balance of the court would shift.
We know the kinds of decisions Justice Roggensack is going to make because she's got a 10-year record on the Supreme Court and then a record on the Court of Appeals. We don't know where Ed Falone will decide cases, and I think people are making assumptions that he will be more judicially liberal. And I think maybe on some things, looking on his record, that that may be a valid argument. But he's been a corporate lawyer, he's been a business lawyer. He may not be different than Justice Roggensack on some of those kinds of cases.
Wisconsin Supreme Court justices are officially independent, meaning they don't run as members of a political party. But if you take a look at who's supporting the candidates in this race, the difference is pretty clear.
Roggensack is being backed by Republican Party groups and conservative donors, and outside groups including the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce are running ads supporting Roggensack. Meanwhile, Falone is receiving a lot of his support from Democrats and unions. The list of endorsements on his campaign website is a virtual who's who of Democratic politicians.
So I think what people see is that I'm an independent thinker and I'm open-minded, and that I'll simply decide each case individually based on the law.
But at the same time, a lot of looking through your campaign endorsements from the political side of it, there's a lot. I mean, you mentioned Dave Obey, Senator Russ Feingold, a lot of high-profile Democrats.
Well, I'm very proud of our elected officials who know me, have seen my work, and who have faith in my ability as a Supreme Court justice. I think what's notable to me is that I've been introduced at many events by people who say, Professor Falone may not agree with us 100% of the time. He may not rule the way we want 100% of the time, but we know 100% of the time he'll give us a fair hearing. And that's all I've promised anyone, and I'm proud of my support.
Like Falone, Roggensack gave the type of answer you'd expect from someone running for office.
Do you consider yourself a conservative justice?
You know, I don't like labels, and I'll tell you what I tell everyone that always asks me to comment on that. I have a judicial philosophy. It is set by the Wisconsin Constitution. I don't consider it to have any kind of a label.
But at the same time, you do get a lot of support from Republicans, from conservative groups. What do you make of that?
I think that they look at my record and they think I have done a fair and an even-handed handling of the matters that have come before me.
So who will win a seat on the state Supreme Court for the next 10 years? Well, we won't find out till the election is over, but it would appear that Fallone has an uphill battle. Rogensack received twice as many votes as he did in the primary, and she's raised more money. But there's also history. A sitting justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court has only been defeated 5 times in the last 161 years. For Fox 11 on special assignment, I'm Robert Hornacek.
This Sunday, you can see more from Robert's interviews with the candidates on a special edition of CW14 Focus. Tune in Sunday morning at 10:30 on CW14.